but not have to carry a gun to do it. So she chose a company that would let her do that. Now, granted, she had a 3.5 GPA, had co-opted, and was an all-star student, so she could pick what she wanted. But that, what motivated her was see the world. And what's interesting is keeping up with her now 7 years after she's graduated. Her emails come from Ireland, or her emails are coming from Scotland, or all these far-off places. Another lesson for us: to determine what will motivate any worker, determine what needs what they're trying to satisfy at work. Maybe some people are motivated by the sheer fact they get to learn something new. So learning and training is something that might motivate someone. Being on new projects, is it for engineers, that might motivate people. And there's other people who don't want to learn new projects. They want to stay on what they know and don't learn anything else. Interestingly enough, make sure you have the ability to administer or withhold the consequences. Yeah. Well, if you're the manager or the leader, you should have that. Raises, bonuses, promotions, travel schedule, budget, that sort of thing. Structure work situations so that workers can satisfy their needs by performing the behaviors that enable the organization. So, as finding the match between what the person is motivated to do, what the organization needs. That's not always easy to do. I need you to do this, but you may not be very motivated to do it. Right? I need a stormwater runoff plan so we are compliant with the environmental laws. They're not going to be very motivated to do it, but we got to have it. So, okay, some other theories before we break for tonight. Expectancy theory, a process about work motivation that focuses on how workers make choices among alternative behaviors and levels of effort. Okay. How workers decide which specific behavior to perform and how much effort to give. So this is getting right at the crux of what we talked about in the first slide. And they talk about valence, the desirability of an outcome to an individual. So how desirable is that outcome for you? Well, maybe the outcome is a promotion. Maybe the outcome is you want to be transferred to a new office. You don't like Beaumont. You want to go to Denver, Montreal. So that's the desired outcome. And so there's positive and negative valence for that. Okay. They also, some more vocabulary, instrumentality, the perception about the extent to which performing one of these behaviors will lead to the attainment. So what's my perception about this? Should I do this or not? Is this going to help me achieve my outcome? Now, if you're a student, just reading the chapter, is it going to help me achieve my goal of making an A in this course? Yes, because the test is coming, a decent percentage is going to come from the book. There's going to be a whole section on the test about ZAP. And you'll know when you start getting into the ZAP questions. All right, so you might be a perception that reading is going to be a behavior that's going to help me achieve my goal. Now you can say, well, what might be a behavior that I perceive to be non-helpful? For most of you, the perception is, I don't need to print my slides and bring them to class. Right? I don't need to take Ryan's advice and make a notebook and bring it. I'm picking on y'all, right? Giving y'all some grief. You'll have to take it in the right tone of voice for my internationals. Giving you some grief. Okay? However, I'm going to brag on some of you. Look at that. Everybody hold up their notebook who's got a notebook. Come on now. Look at this. Yeah, look at that. They printed off their slides. They have them with them. So, see, I'm giving them some grief. That group perceives there to be a positive relationship between printing off their slides and having a notebook, bringing it to class. That's a perception that there's a positive relationship. It might not even matter. We could take a look at test grades here in about 2 weeks and see who scored well and who had a notebook. Maybe we'll do that. We'll experiment.
Trying to get that 3.5.
Maybe so. So this instrumentality, it's a perception about this behavior. Coming to class, there's a perception about that. It may not be reality, is what the crux of it is. You perceive that to be a good behavior, but it may not be. Is it a good behavior to go to lunch or with the boss, or to go after hours to a dinner with the boss? It might be perceived to be a good thing, but in reality it doesn't matter. So, and they've got a scale here. I'm really not interested in killing you with the numbers here. Let you look at that. So some of the lessons. Number one is pretty critical. Make sure the workers who perform at a high level actually receive a desirable outcome. There's nothing worse than having high performers not get a raise, not get a promotion, not get a bonus, not get to travel, not get to go to the conference. It's a killer. One of the companies I've worked with in my consulting, they were concerned at the time that they had these high performers, and they really wanted to give a nice raise because of how well they had done. But then it was a struggle to get the human resource department to come through and give the raises that were requested. And it soon became quite clear that the managers at that location did not have the authority to grant the raises. They could request the raise. Now, whether the raise was authorized or not was at the headquarters. So it was a demotivating event when those raises didn't come, and the employees realized the management didn't have control over it. We're going to lose those people. It's just a matter of time if they're performing well. Okay. So that's huge. Okay. Determine the outcomes that they want. Well, that will be finding out, does this person want travel? Do they want to relocate? Can I help them relocate? Whatever it might be. Clearly communicate what behavior and performance is required to receive what they want. Now, that's a little bit dicey, okay? Because you can say that I want to have a high-performing person. I want to have innovative results. So what's innovative? I want you to show initiative. What's initiative? Start trying to measure that. Did I get where I'm going with that? Some of the things that you really, really want are very difficult to measure. You can say it all day, but what you don't want to say is something that's very objective that people can manipulate. Right? I want you to have a return on your projects of $500,000 or more. Well, I can do things to help make that happen. That might not be ethical. Agreed? You look at Enron and think about that. I can make the numbers look good. So you have to be careful about that. Okay? All right, so certainly with this expectancy theory, coaching is important. We've talked about that in the leadership presentation. It would be interesting to get a handle on workers' beliefs about behavior, performance, and outcomes. It really would be interesting to know that. I don't know that as a manager you're ever going to get actual feedback on that. But if people had the attitude, their belief was, it doesn't matter what your performance is, you're still getting the same raise. What is that going to encourage?
Nothing.
Not people motivated.
They're not motivated. you're going to get what level of performance?
Just showing up.
Just showing up.
Apathy.
Apathy. I don't care. Minimal level of performance. So if there was a perception, worker belief, that increased performance leads to great outcomes, my work will be recognized. If I do a good job, it's going to be noticed. It's going to be figured into a promotion or bonus or raise. Or my work's not going to be recognized. No one cares. I've given 110% for several years. No one has noticed. No one's given me a raise, bonus, whatnot. Then it's likely that no, you're going to get low performance. So it would be great to have number 6, to have some understanding of their belief. My guess is if you've been there long enough, you're going to get a feel for that. So, equity theory, the process theory about work motivation that focuses on workers' perception. If you've got your notes, circle or highlight that. Their perception of the fairness of the work outcomes and inputs, which is just the issue we just talked about with item number 6 on the previous slide. Okay? The ratio, it talks about what a worker gets from a job and what a worker contributes. So, outcome might be pay, income, when you're putting in special skills. Outcome might be status. Maybe your input is your effort. Status might be a promotion. Could be that you've got an office on a corner of the building that has windows. That your office is bigger than somebody else's. Status used to be measured by square footage of office space.
Corner office.
Usually, in the old days, that's what it was. The bigger your office, the higher position you had. When my father worked for Baker Sand Control back in the 80s, he took me up there to his office, and you literally could have put 3 ping pong tables together in his office and played ping pong. It was huge. Then I saw his office at Chevron. It's like this little closet. I kid you not. If you go to the old Enron buildings downtown, he took me to his office. He literally has an office about the size of mine, which might be maybe, 9 by 13. And I can promise you he's making big bucks. I promise you. Go look at his house in Conroe and tell you. Okay? So it's not the same anymore, I don't think, but it used to be a show of status. How big was your office? And certainly, so you're looking at what the outcomes you're getting versus the effort you're putting in. Whether that effort is special, you went to some special training. You volunteered for training because no one else wanted to do it. You were willing to take the travel that people didn't want to travel. I can think of some places my dad travels to that there's no way I'd want to go. They're not safe. I don't perceive them to be safe. If you have to travel with people with military escort, I don't think it's a safe place to go. But he has to travel with military escort to many of the places he goes. Maybe you volunteered for that international assignment. You get where I'm going, people? You did something, you put something into the organization, but are you getting the outcome you expected? If you're not going to stick around very long. Maybe until you can find something else. Agreed? So as a manager, we have to be cognizant, aware of people's input to the organization. Are people putting in the extra effort? Are they doing the extra training? Are they, I've worked with organizations where, there was, this is a kind of a silly example, but, there's people taking smoke breaks 5 times a day. And some people that are always coming in early and staying late. So you can see the input. Are they getting the output they're expecting or not? So this goes into equity theory. Individuals compare their job with inputs and outputs of those of others. Okay, so you're going to look at your colleagues at your organization. Are they